Mornings, some mornings we turn on the camera and just do a little bit of morning ministry just so you can start your day right, thinking about the word, God's word, and things that really matter. And so today I actually have some notes of something I'm going to speak later, so I'm just practicing here on you guys. Hope you don't mind being a guinea pig. We just kind of turn the camera on and just kind of go. So, anyway, today we're going to talk about there's sort of four creatures in Revelation. We see in Revelation 4, 6 through 7. It says, also in front of the throne there was what looked like a sea of glass, clear as crystal. It goes through and it says there's four living creatures. The first was like a lion, the second was like an ox, the third had a face of a man, and the fourth was like an eagle. So today we're going to talk about the face of a man. It's kind of a weird verse, but we have to remember that the whole book of Revelation is not, oh yes, there's like stuff about the end time and all these angelic beings and stuff. Really, the revelation is of Jesus Christ. So we keep that focus. Remember that it's a what is this revealing about Jesus Christ? So you're going to go on all sorts of tangents and go in all sorts of places if you're trying to figure out all these crazy things about end time and prophecy and all that. And it's in there, but you have to focus because what really matters is the revelation of Jesus. The book is a revelation of Jesus. So that out of the way, we're going to look at what these creatures mean as far as a revelation of Jesus. So let's look at the face of the man. So the face of the man shows us that Jesus has humanity. Now, Jesus has fully God and fully man. And this is good for me because a lot of times I feel like we focus on his deity and it's harder to wrap our head around like his humanness. But Jesus understands what it's like to be human. It reminds me of those kind of He Gets Us commercials. You saw them during the Super Bowl, but in a way deeper level. So Philippians 2, 6 through 8, Jesus, who being in the very nature of God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by being obedient unto death, even death upon a cross. And so it's kind of, so remember I said there was a Super Bowl ad, it says that He Gets Us. Rather than really commenting on that, I don't want to go too far into that. I want to take a deep dive into what I believe it truly means when we say that He gets us. What are we saying when we say that Jesus gets us? Well, I think, especially in connection to what we just read in Revelation, that He gets what it's like to be human. He became a human to pay a human debt. And so we see that throughout his life that he grew. We see Luke 2:52 says Jesus grew in wisdom and stature in favor of man. He grew up. He experienced life stages. So he understands what it's like to be a toddler, have that awkward teenage year. He understands what it's like to grow up in a culture. He was born. I know this sounds kind of silly, but if you look in Matthew 21, you see a list of names, all these names of his genealogy, who the people that came before Jesus in. And so we know that those lists of names show that Jesus is a real person. You laugh, but there are cultures that say that we come from like bananas. Like literally, there are definite religions that say we come from a banana, and of course a lot of people believe we come from monkeys and all that stuff, but what's happening here is showing no, we're from a family. And what's interesting is not just he was born in a family, but he had a family when he was growing up. We see that he was born in a culture full of traditions and relationships, and some of those people were shady. Look down that list. There's some people who are shady. There's some people who are victorious. So it's really just the idea of, hey, he was born in a real family that had real dynamics. And then we also see that he had a job. So not only if you're a toddler, if you're a teenager, he can relate with you, but even if you have a job, it says that he was a carpenter. We see in Matthew 13:55. So he understands what it's like to go through these things, to have cranky customers, to have to wake up, to have a schedule, all these things. Jesus understands. He gets us in that. And he goes through physical feelings. We see several times he was hungry, John 4, 6 through 7. He was tired, Matthew 8. He was thirsty, John 4. It says this in Isaiah 53:2, for he grew up before him like a young plant. And so we see that he grew up. And I know, guys, we kind of know this, but we have to remind ourselves sometimes because we have to remember that he gets us. He's not some distant God out there that's not connected to the world. He is actively involved and engaged in our lives, and he cares, and he's been through it. He gets us because he understands. These are just a few more things that he understands. He understands what it's like to be tempted, Matthew 4, to weep, Matthew 23, to be betrayed, Matthew 26, to be mocked, Matthew 27, to be denied, Matthew 26, to be let down, Matthew 26. You can think in your head, have you ever felt any of these feelings? To be abandoned by his closest friends, Matthew 26. And by the way, that was at his darkest hour when he needed them the most. They couldn't even stay awake and pray. It says he was turned on by his community, Matthew 27. He was punished unjustly, Matthew 26. He was lied against, Matthew 28. I could go on and on and on, but just understand whatever struggles and challenges you are going through, he went through probably on a level way higher, but it's not a comparison game. Just the understanding that he understands. And if you go back to this he was tempted thing, how many of us are tempted on a daily to go turn water into wine? We can't. That's not part of it. So how many of us are say, hey, I'm gonna make these rocks into bread? Like that's not how it works. So Jesus' temptations were way greater. And I'll just say one thing real quick about that temptation thing. What's interesting is when you see the temptation in Matthew, what's interesting is I feel like a lot of the temptations are, hey, a shortcut. You know how like we always want to kind of do a shortcut? I do. I love getting a shortcut. I love getting the end result without having to focus on all the different things. Oh, thanks so much. I appreciate the message. With all the things in between. And so if you look at it, when Jesus is tempted by the devil, I'm throwing a lot at you guys. Sorry, you kind of have to know the stories. But basically, Jesus goes in the wilderness to be tempted, and the devil, a lot of things that he does is tempting him within the scriptures to kind of get different things from scripture without doing the right things to get there. So, for example, the last one was the devil took Jesus to a high pinnacle, showed him all the world, and basically said, I'll give you everything if you just bow down and worship me. What's interesting is Jesus's goal in that life was to ultimately conquer everything and become victorious and basically have kingship over everything. So what the devil was offering was something that that Jesus was going to get. The difference is the devil was offering it without the death on the cross. He was saying this is a shortcut to getting what you actually need to want. And that's what's important because the devil wasn't tempting Jesus with anything that that wasn't part of the plan. The devil tempted Jesus with something that was part of the plan, just the wrong way to get it. Anyway, that's a separate conversation, but it's very good that you remember that sometimes we see the end goal. The end goals are from God, but you must do it God's way. Otherwise, we're not hitting the mark. So I digress. The whole point is when I read off that list, and there's probably tons and tons of other stuff. And hey, from the Philippines, is I could go on and on. It says he went through every kind of distress. He experienced it. And I used to think, oh, like Jesus could just flip the switch, is gone. Oh, I'm not hungry anymore. Oh, flip the switch, you got. Oh, I'm not thirsty anymore. Flip the switch anymore. Oh, no, 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 no. It wasn't like that. He was fully man and fully God. So he fully experienced all those things. He has everything physical, so much suffering, emotional, so much suffering. I mean, I think what a stab in the back at his darkest moment when he needed them the most. His best friends all turned his back on him so much that they literally like said, no, I don't know him, denied him to the point of cursing. It's so insane. And so his friends left, friends died. We see Lazarus. There's just so much you can go. He experienced this. Isaiah 53 says it great. 53, 53, 3 through 6. He was despised and rejected by men. Have you ever felt this way? Think, close your eyes and think. Have you ever felt this way? Have you ever felt despised? Have you ever felt rejected by men? Have you ever felt like you were a person of sorrows, acquainted with grief, as one that people hide their faces on, someone who they're ashamed to look upon you, that you're despised and esteemed not, I mean, no value, no respect. You ever feel disrespected? Surely he has borne our griefs. Surely he was smitten by God. You ever felt rejected by God? You ever afflicted? Afflicted. He was pierced for our transgression. He was crushed for our iniquities. Now, I'm not saying that you were done for all these things, but just think, have you felt these things? Jesus has felt these things. He gets us. Oh, congratulations. That's awesome getting baptized. That is such a great, 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 great milestone. And in his humanity shows us whatever you're feeling, he felt it and he feels it. Remember, he's alive forevermore. And remember, he gets us. So why is that important? Let's go back to Hebrews 4:15. This is the Amplified Bible. And I'm going to read the beginning of it. Is, for we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize and understand our weaknesses and temptations. but one who has been tempted, knowing exactly how it feels to be human. He sympathizes. He understands. He's not disconnected. He gets us. He gets us. Truly gets us. He gets what it's like to be in our position. No, he might not have played Minecraft, but he understands what it's like to have things pulling and distracting him. Do you understand, like, the concepts, the things that really matter? He gets it. He gets having to juggle ministry and a family, right? He's trying to go into the temple and then his family needs him. He understands all these things. He understands what it's like to be honest, to be truthful, and then have people turn their backs and reject him and be mean to him. He understands what it's like to be slandered, to have people. I mean, they literally were paid to lie against him. It says that they. Oh gosh, Matthew says that they were running so fast away from Jesus to get avoid these people who were with him for like 3 years. He ate with them. He spent so much time with them. He loved them. He gave everything up for them. It says that they ran so fast away from him when it was trouble that some of them even left some of their clothes. That's how bad they would try to get away from him. How much that would have hurt. Oh, and he couldn't stop thinking about them. He cared about them because even on the cross, in the most cosmic, eternal struggle of all time, you see that he's not even thinking about himself. He says, "Somebody take care of my mom." And he says, in those moments when I'm wrong, this is the other day when something went on, like, God, help them, fix them, like, change them, right? You're driving and someone almost cut you off. My God, like, really, like, work on them. Do you know what Jesus said when people did the worst, ultimate, terrible thing to him, trying to kill him, killing him? He said, Father, forgive them. Man, man, what an example. But he gets us. He gets what it feels like to have these things happen. And he cares. He understands. He cares. So think about this. He cares so much. So he cares so much that he doesn't just say, "Oh, okay, yeah, I feel it." He doesn't just feel it. He cares. He did something about it. He left heaven to do something about it. Now, stop, because we know that, right? We know that he came from heaven to earth to show the way. All right, right? We know this. But here's the deal. Heaven. It's kind of like the story back in Second Samuel. I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but look, you just read your Bible. Second Samuel, they do this thing where they bring back Samuel from the dead. And Samuel comes, wants nothing to do with anything. He wants nothing to do with anybody. And I believe that you actually hear these stories too, people coming back, and they're like, why'd you take me? It's kind of like, I'll fly away, my darling. Like, we want to go to Jesus. So if we're in heaven, why would we come back? He was in this perfect, wonderful, breathtaking, just phenomenal place that has just, I can't even start to try to describe heaven. It was so perfect. And he left that to come to earth. Have you seen earth? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Because of love. He gave up all these perfect, amazing, fantastic things that's perfect to come to. It just blows my mind. Not just to be around it, to be in it. To be in it. To be, and not just in it. Oh, he didn't just come to be a king, sit on a throne, and get fed grapes, right? He came to be in the thicket with us. He came to be in the thicket with us. Exactly. You're exactly right. The streets that they walked on were paved in gold. You can talk about pearls, giant pearls the size of houses. There's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. He left all that for the dirty streets of our city streets, and not just our city streets, because like I said, he could have come, he could have just been a king and sit and have somebody with one of those big leaves fan him to get him cool. No, he was in the dirty places with the prostitutes and the tax collectors and the worst of the worst, with the lepers and the diseased and all these people that were unwanted and considered unclean and all this. He was with them. He left that for this. Like, let that remind, like, that's how much he loves us and he cares for us. Let me continue. Hebrews 4:15. The one who has been tempted, knowing exactly what it feels like to be human in every respect as we are, yet not committing any sin. So whatever you're struggling with, understand that he was tempted in all things, but he committed no sin. That means all things. So whatever struggle you're going through, understand that he struggled with something similar. Like I said, maybe not exactly Minecraft, right? He wasn't doing Minecraft back then, but he did have things pulling at him. He did have struggles. So if he was tempted, or sorry, not struggles, but he was tempted in all things. So don't think, oh, he can't relate. But if you're going through a struggle, if you're going through a challenge, if you're going through temptation, give it to him. All you who are heavy laden, who are weary and heavy laden, lay down your things to him, and they will give you rest. So I did all that, right? And what's crazy is I almost think sometimes it would have been easier just to come and die. He didn't just come and die. He came and live. He came and live a full life as a human. And then these 3 years of ministry where he was basically scorned the majority of the time and rejected and challenged and all these things to the people that he's trying to die for. He's going to die for. Blows my mind. And so just so he could rightfully die for them and redeem us. And he cares so much. And so I also say that nothing is too small. He cares about even the smallest things. So my two favorite examples are there in Luke. So in Luke, what we see is we see that um, he says he knows the number of hairs that are on your head. Now, that's a great analogy because hair is something that changes constantly. If you put your hands through your hair, if you brush it too hard, some days the hairs grow. Hair is a number that keeps changing. So he cares so intimately about some of the tiniest things that keep changing in life. That means he's always watching and paying attention and seeing what's going on in your life. And he cares. He cares so much. It even says that your tears, every tear that you cry, it says in, I believe, Psalms 89, it says that he collects your tears in the bottle and he puts them on the throne rooms. That means every tear you cry matters and he cares about it and he sees it and he loves you so much. So, and he did something about it. So I say all that to say nothing is too small. As small as a hair, a piece of hair is as small as a tear is. He cares about every single one of them. Hebrews 2:17 says, "For this reason he had to be made like them, fully human in every way, so that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest in service to God, that he might make atonement for sins in his people." So exactly what we're saying. In part due to his humanity, he cares and he understands, and he won the victory. Matthew 25:31 says that he will sit on a glorious throne. He gets us. We talked a little bit about this in on one of the other days. It talks about at marriage night, there's kind of three ways that you kind of go to people. Sorry, four ways. It's I see you, right? You see somebody. Hey, I see you. Or hey, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Or I understand you. Okay, I get it. But then there's another one that says I got you. Is I got you. I got this. And what I believe we see with this atonement is Jesus saying, I got you. I got you. That sin that you're struggling with, I got you. I'm gonna be there with you. I got you. So a great example of this, I believe, is an instance of my daughter broke her arm a little while back, and she was crying. And I remember when we realized what happened, we grabbed her and we rushed to the hospital, and she was just crying through the pain. And I held her and said, "I get it, I get it. I know it hurts. I get it, I know it hurts." But I was thinking, man, my words aren't saying anything. I said, "You know what? I got you, my child. I got you. I am holding you." And so the doctors said this. Once we finally got to the doctor, they got her in the room, right? All that stuff. Says they had to put pressure on the bones to move them back. I don't know if you've ever had anything broken and had someone have to put pressure on without the anesthetic. Just imagine that pain. So as a doctor is starting to do this essentially healing act that needs to be done, but it hurts, I just held her. I just held her as she cried, and I said, "I got you. I got you." As this thing happened, because right now you might feel the pain. It doesn't feel good, but you are in my arms. Know that I got you. The pain is real, but I got you. The struggle is real, but I got you. It's hard now, but it's necessary to come out on the other end. And you're going to get through it. And I'm going to be there with you now and every step along the way to make sure you're okay. And so I want to let you know that he doesn't just get us, he's got us. Think about Jesus saying, I got you. I got you. I got this. I got you. If you're tempted, I got you. I'm going to help you. If you're struggling, I got you. Going through pain, Jesus is saying, I got you. He gets us. And we got to remember that when he got us, we're never going to be the same. Check this out. Continuing the verse in Philippians that we started, Philippians 2. Therefore, God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name. The name Jesus, every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord to the glory of God the Father. So he didn't just get us, he's got us in heaven. He's got us because he got the victory, and we are never the same. And this is kind of the one argument that people say when they read that Super Bowl commercial. It sounded like, hey, he just gets us, like it's cool, like whatever. Like he doesn't just get us, he got us. And when he gets us, we never stay the same, because a big thing of the gospel is that he transforms us. So he gets us, he transforms us. He challenges us. It says that as a good father, he sometimes disciplines us. He challenges us to grow. And then through his strength, he empowers us and we change. He goes with us. Joshua 1:9 says, I will never leave you or forsake you. He comforts us. He picks us up. He cleanses us. He restores us. He forgives us. He redeems us. He heals us. He delivers us. He empowers us and strengthens us. He saves us because he loves us. And so this week, I just want to encourage you that when times get hard and when life happens, that you think back to this odd story in Revelation 4 and this interesting picture of a man and remind yourself of the humanity of Jesus. So with that thing that's difficult and hard, go to him and know that he gets us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Be blessed, guys. Peace.